Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So, Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So, this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So, just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So, like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a very good friend of mine. His name's Brad. I've worked with him for probably about 3 years to get on and off. Yeah, 3 years total. And so I just wanted to welcome you to the show.
Well, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really...
I've been watching what you've been doing, and I think it's awesome. What an amazing way that you've taken a life experience and figured out how to serve other people with it. I wish everybody could have a similar position in life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Brad and I, we were personal trainers at the gym that I used to work at, and he moved on to another gym. But so he was one of the guys that I would talk to if I had like a question of like fitness or like movements, or like kind of like throw something out there to him and kind of get his perspective on, you know, what my thoughts were and what his thoughts were with the movement. So he was kind of like he was like my guru fitness guy when it comes to like any lifting or whatnot. So any questions, like, you know, definitely would throw it at his way. So I kind of want to talk to you about like how you started into the fitness realm and like what you got you there, and kind of like your minor league baseball career too.
Oh man, a different lifetime. 53, I'll turn 53 this year, and so yeah, we're going back over half of my life ago. But started playing. I grew up in Central Illinois. Huge baseball area, and in a family with an older brother, younger brother, and eventually a younger sister. And my dad loved baseball, coached me growing up, and baseball was just something that we just always did. It was just what the family did, and so figured out very quickly that my dad was not going to allow me to be one of those prima donna players. Growing up, everybody got to their playing time in before my dad, who was the head coach, would let me in a ball game. So life lessons start early, right? When you're a parent, you start teaching your kid right away. And not exactly sure what the intent was, other than my son is never going to be accused of having things put on a silver platter for him. He's going to have to work for it. And sometimes life circumstances are going to dictate that even though you deserve something, you're probably going to have to wait for it. And you're going to have to earn it, if not work even harder to be able to get what you want. And so it's just one of those kind of family life lessons that you grow up with, that sometimes you don't get the recognition you feel like you deserve. But stick to it, be your best, do your best, and you'll always have something that you can draw from it.
Awesome. Very cool. I mean, that's a good thing to say, for especially for like the new kids that are coming into this world, that, you know, it's a good life lesson. You know, you got to work hard to get what you want. And so, and now, like you said, nothing comes in a silver platter as well. So how did you get into like when did you realize when you were playing baseball you started to be like really really good, and then like what was the progression from like high school to college, or like and then to the minors?
Uh, yeah, you know what? I think I was pretty good, but honestly, looking back on the teams that I played on, I don't, from my perspective, I was never really the best player on the team. And I always had a hard time with that. I think what was going on inside my own head ultimately sped the demise of my future in baseball and probably caused me to be ejected out of the system and into normal life just a little bit quicker than maybe what I otherwise could have done. If I'd had more self-confidence and more of a vision and was less of my own worst enemy, I probably could have gone farther. But ultimately, that's what came around. So I did really well in high school. I did have some success relatively early, but I think it was more a byproduct of me hitting the gym when I was sophomore in high school. I started just by swinging a lead-filled bat in the basement. That was kind of the beginning of me actually becoming a gym rat, or at least discovering enjoyment of training, of having a defined purpose, having a defined goal, and wanting to work towards it. So I would swing 500 times right-handed, 500 times left-handed. Growing up in Central Illinois, we couldn't really afford batting gloves, so I would be in the basement, and I had these nasty winter gloves. You'd probably buy them from Sears back then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they were full of sweat, and they stunk really bad, because they were full of sweat.
Yeah.
They'd never really dry out from the day before. It was disgusting. But I would be in a dark basement, swinging this lead-filled bat, just getting stronger and stronger. And my older brother, 4 years older than me, he was working out at a gym, and when I started hearing stories about he and his friends going to the gym, then it didn't take long before I started thinking, wow, maybe there's something more I can do to get better at baseball. Love baseball. Could never get enough. And I really started to fall in love with the practice of it, the process of getting better and training, because it started to translate into being better on the ball field, which is really what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So that led to getting a gym membership and learning how to train and learning how to train for strength. A lot of the stuff I did was good. A lot of it was absolutely horrible. And you got to remember, this was back in the 80s. Back in the 80s when training as an athlete, and even more so as a baseball player, that was not something anybody really ever said. Matter of fact, even at the major league level, they were discouraging guys from lifting weights. And it just sounds ridiculous now. But it was not long ago. And I think a lot of the athletes nowadays, they don't understand how quickly things have changed and the speed at which we've had to learn things, and how quickly we're still learning things, and how stuff that we're doing now, there's a decent chance that it's not the best way to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to figure that out in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years moving forward in the future, that these athletes nowadays are going to look back at what they're doing and go, wow, there's a lot of good there, but there was a lot of things we're not necessarily the best thing to be doing. And that was definitely true for me. Fortunately, I was good enough to move on to the college level. I was just starting to get noticed, but was definitely not good enough to make it into professional baseball. When I was a senior in high school, I did have some pro scouts come and watch me play, but they always ended up telling my parents and my coach, yeah, he needs to go the college route. Fortunately, my dad was a college professor at the area junior college that had a tremendous baseball history and program. And at the time, the school offered free tuition to the family members. So we were not a rich family, very much middle class, working class. And so I got my first 2 years of tuition for free and played baseball, more or less majored in baseball. Found my way, headed down to the great state of Georgia. Got recruited to come down here and went to a school down in Savannah, Georgia called Armstrong State, which was a small school, but a tremendously rich baseball history. And probably one of the best things I could have done. But one of those decisions you make in life that determines the direction that your life is going to go in. You just don't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
And one of the best things that unknowingly I did was come down to Georgia.
Awesome, very cool. So now, when did the scouts really notice you, and when you got did you get drafted and then go to the minors, or how did that work?
No, I was never drafted. Which just is kind of a consistent theme that even though I did really well, I was a 2-time All-American and I set 3 NCAA records, but inside my head I was always chasing and always being nagged by demons of I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And my work ethic was probably what kept me from self-destructing even before. So I chased down free agent contracts, played some semi-pro ball, played some very competitive ball, before it just became obvious that I got a better shot moving on in life rather than pursuing baseball. And this was right around the time that I met the woman who became my wife. And so the close of the book and the opening of another chapter.
Right.
Moving on from baseball.
Yeah, very cool.
And so I really do. I had other opportunities that I could have pursued with tryouts with other teams. I had gone to several major leagues and spoken with lots of scouts and lots of baseball people. And I was watching and hearing about guys that I felt like I was better than move on. And yet I was always kind of bitter and angry that I did not get more of a shot, didn't get the recognition that I felt like my play had deserved, but I never moved on to the position that I saw guys around me moving on to. And looking back on it, boy, what a character-defining time in my life. And I am super grateful for it. Back then, very bitter and very angry. And I had some growing that I had to do. And it was not a fun time to have to be in my own skin, because I think I was not quite comfortable with who I was at the time, who I was as a person, who I was as a young man. And I'm grateful for that time. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough seeing at the age of 22 my dream falling apart around me and being frustrated that it didn't end up in a better spot that I had always dreamed it would be and always hoped it would be and worked really hard for it to get to. But it never did. And, I'm grateful for the experience.
Yeah, definitely. So when did you kind of like snap out of being like angry, mad about the situation, and when did you realize like, hey, I need to really move on and like go someplace else in life?
Well, now, for you and I, we know the value of coaching.
Yeah.
We know the value of human beings interacting with people. We know the value of guidance and hope and vision and having a plan. And we both work in a gym environment where we see lots of people trying to do it by themselves. And I don't think I ever really was going to do that at that point in a general life sense. It took the woman that I married took my wife Dawn to really help me to grow up, to begin to appreciate more about myself, to feel comfortable in my skin as a young man, and to not define myself as a baseball player, which I think for all my life up to that point, I did define myself by this sport and by this game. And now I was forced to have to define myself along different terms. And so it was a process. I was bitter and angry for probably, I guess, two to 3 years before I just gradually, day in, day out, matured into somebody more than just a baseball player, and then a former baseball player, and wanted to be, could have been, but never was type of a baseball player or person. Took me a while to move on from that. But gosh, now I look at it and I work with clients now, and even this morning in talking fitness with somebody who is going to start working with one of my trainers. The nature of the conversation is, you're more than that body right there. We can define program of sets and reps, and we can get you to where you want to be, but that's not what good trainers do. Good trainers are in personal development, and there's more to you than sets and reps and workouts we're going to have you do. We got to work on you as a whole person.
Yep. Absolutely. So, when did you get into when did you start doing coaching, in personal training route?
Oh, yeah, good question. So, me being a baseball guy and a former baseball guy, and when you're one of those guys and people understand who you are, it doesn't take long before somebody's playing in a softball league and they need somebody to fill in, and then they're going, hey, you want to come play? And then the first time you step in a batter's box and you're used to swinging at nasty-looking breaking balls and, fastball, now softball flying up at there, you've got more than just your average hitting a ball. And then all of a sudden the guys start, and before you know it, their kid wants help with their swing, and you're helping people do camps, and you're helping people to refine their swing and get better, and then that athlete needs to get stronger and go, look, where you want to really get better at, you're good enough with your swing, now you just got to get stronger as an athlete. And so then the conversation turns to, well, then how do I do that? Well, through my own training in the weight room and stuff like that, I knew enough to go, okay, well, here's where we start. So you start showing them what you know. And boy, as soon as you have to start teaching somebody something, all of a sudden you got to know it on a much better level than when you're just kind of doing things and, training yourself. When you actually have to coach somebody else and teach somebody else something, you got to know it at a much deeper level. And that's kind of when I realized, wow, I thought I knew a lot. I don't know anything. I think I got to start studying this stuff so that I can actually provide some value and help these people that, that now it's not just about baseball, and now it's about becoming a stronger athlete and moving on from there. So that's kind of where it all started.
Nice. So what certifications do you have?
I've got 3 nutrition certifications. I've got NPTI. I've got NPTI is a school that I went to and studied with, and then ultimately became an instructor there. And that's a personal training trade academy. They still exist. Separate schools in nationwide, big cities usually. And that was a 500-hour course where you actually got to spend 500 hours in the gym practicing program design with clients. And you studied 300 hours of kinesiology, biology, energy systems, nutrition, all this kind of stuff. So it's a deep, deep dive. So for most people, PTI certification means nothing. But for those who have gone through the program, understand the commitment, and it cost me a year of my life, and also sports medicine. They have a sports nutrition course, completed that, and then blanking on the other one.
Precision.
Also carry a number of trade certifications. National Academy of Sports Medicine, Certified Personal Trainer, CrossFit Level 1, Active Life certification for helping people to be able to treat and diagnose pain and injury and help them to stay in the gym without losing time by going to a doctor. It's probably enough before you completely lose your audience.
Yeah. No, that was perfect. I had no idea you were CrossFit Level 1. You got your cert for CrossFit Level 1. That's awesome. So since you've been personal training people for a long period of time, what have you seen as a change from when you started to pretty much now? And like, you could do through like athletes or just like the regular, like average Joe at a personal training at a regular gym.
Yeah, to be honest, the biggest change is I think in what I'm able to provide for people. I intentionally train where I train because I think it's the hardest type of training you can get. General fitness gym, working with a population base that's got all the odds of life stacked against them and all the reasons to not show up in the gym and all the reasons to not have the money to be able to pay me and my staff of trainers in the gym to be able to find a better vision and a better version of themselves. General fitness training is the toughest thing you got. You're not just rolling into a gym with people that are excited to go through a brutal and punishing workout where they're going to suffer and experience pain. These are people that are really struggling to be in there, and somehow, in spite of all the obstacles and reasons why they don't want to be in the gym, you still have to find results for them. I think it's the most challenging place for a trainer, the most rewarding. I think there's the greatest opportunity to have an impact on people is in that environment. It's not in the speed and agility sports performance arena. Really, even in the CrossFit gym, I think it's in general fitness, where general people exist, and they need to get up to find a new purpose in life and to become something more than what they currently see in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I exist where I'm at, and I do what I do, and that's why I get up out of bed, because that's the kind of impact, and those are the kind of people that I want to work with.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you like? What are the ways to get people like fired up for their day of training, or like how do you get them motivated if they kind of having a rough day or a rough week? Like, what's your way of motivating them?
Oh, well, it's pretty straightforward. It's not a flippant question, but most of my sessions start with the question of, how are you doing? Everybody just says, I'm fine. But most of communication is nonverbal, and I want to look them in the eye. I want to see them. I want to see how they talk to me. I want to see what their energy is. I want to see how they're moving. That's going to tell me the answer to my question.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, being in the room and being with somebody is always going to tell then something I can see
Yep.
And a lot of trainers have been forced into it, if they're even doing that. But I want to see it and I want to know it. And how we keep our clients engaged is you have to have a defined purpose that we are working towards. I think a lot of people hire trainers and they don't really have a well-defined goal. They don't really know what they want. Well, I just want to get in shape. Well, what does that mean? It can mean anything to anybody. It doesn't mean anything. What do you want to achieve? If I know what you want to achieve, now I can figure out if I'm the right guy to help you. If I'm not the right guy to help you, then I want to know somebody who can help you, and I'm going to refer them over to you. Because that is the best thing you could do for somebody, is help them to define their goal, define the purpose to get there, and go. This is how athletes work. The goal is not to run around a baseball diamond and throw a ball around and swing a bat and chew bubble gum. It is to win the game. You must know the score. You must know the process. You must know the rules of the game, and you must try to win. Otherwise, we're just running around looking like a bunch of idiots with a ball and leather gloves on our hand. And, the same kind of thing with training. You must have a defined purpose. You must have a way to evaluate success. And you must have a reason that when I get up and I get out of this warm, comfortable bed and I move forward with my day, what do I want to achieve? And what am I going to do to make myself a better person in the gym? And if you help your clients to focus on that, and your clients know exactly what your role is in their life, that's all the motivation they need. And if you can, in a very short, quick sense, remind them of what that is very quickly, or at least how today's workout is going to progress you towards that, it's not too hard to get somebody to snap into place.
Yeah, I had one client that I had that every time she would want to do Olympic lifting, so I'd help her. I was pretty much teaching her how to do the Olympic lifts, and so every day when she walked into the drop her kids off and come around the desk, I screamed so loud, saying "Oh yeah, let's get ready to lift," and everyone in the gym heard it. And then after I said that, she would just go do a Ric Flair woo, just to get excited about it. And I make sure for me, if someone's having a rough day, I try to make it make it a better day for them, getting excited, getting them amped up, pretty much just me being there just to try to make them have a better session. So because obviously you and I know if you have a bad session, it's right from the start. If they're having a bad day, that session can go right to the crapper real quick. But if you try to get them motivated, I mean, that girl I was telling you about, it's their day's going to get better and they're going to see better results.
Yeah, you definitely need to know. I mean, every session you are on a job interview and you have to reinforce your role and your value in that person's life. It's not necessarily a financial transaction, a business transaction. This is a life, human being transaction. We are there, and we're both getting something out of it, and it is more than a business transaction. Of course, sometimes you have a session, somebody is in such a space in life that the last thing they need is to go lift a dumbbell, because it's not going to get them closer to what they need in their goal. So sometimes somebody will walk in and the question is, hey, what's going on? How are you doing today? And then the tears start to flow, and that's when we just walk out the back door and we go for a walk through the park or the woods, and we start putting things back together again. So, you have to serve the person first and the athlete second. And, it's something that you have to learn how to read people. You don't get them to where they want to be.
Yeah, I agree. Reading people is huge in the personal training space, and especially knowing if they're about to lose it, when to go out and just, stop the session and just figure it out, because we're kind of like therapists, pretty much. So, they tell us more in personal things than they would tell anybody else. and like we're pretty much strangers to them sometimes, but like we get a good rapport. But yeah, they tell you everything, and so
Yeah, good trainers are training human beings. They're not just designing a workout. They're not just making people sweat. They're not drill sergeants. They truly move the spirit. They truly move the soul, and that's the beauty of what we do.
yeah.
It's so much more than just sets and reps and how intense and how close to a PR are we getting. It's so much more than that.
Yeah. So what do you look? What do you look for? Well, what is a good definition for you for a great trainer?
Probably depends on the arena. I think strengths and trainers come in very different ways. From a simple perspective, can you move somebody from point A to point B and as long as that is that client's desired place to be at the end of the time? I think it's very transient, very temporary kind of thing. You're only with a client for a defined period of time. Sometimes it's longer than an initial agreement to work together, and sometimes it's for less.
Mm-hmm.
But you must move them, and I think that's one definition of a very effective trainer. I think sometimes great trainers, they're more psychologists and best friends, and they can leave a client more whole as a human being than what they can measure in fat loss or strength gained or muscle gained. But they can leave somebody more whole. And so what I think it really matters is, what does the client want? What do they need? And then is that trainer able to get them to a better spot in life?
Mm-hmm.
As long as everybody understands what that spot is
Mm-hmm.
and what you're working towards.
Yeah, I agree. So, with this whole like COVID-19 thing, the coronavirus. So, how are you able? So, what are you doing for training your clients right now?
Oh, we got a variety of things. It's really been driven by the resources available. Training online and Zoom. Going to people's house if they have a home gym or resource. Training in an outdoor setting. And then at our place, we very quickly started recording videos and posting them on YouTube. And that kind of grew out of control.
Yeah.
You can see some of these at Bodyplex Hamilton Mill on our YouTube channel. Some of the intros got a little crazy, and we started really having fun with them. And then posting a workout where we would coach you up on movements that the equipment was essentially what you might have around you. Could have been bungee cords, could have been a bucket of sand, could have been a bag of dog food or a bag of mulch. It's just anything that you have laying around the house.
Mm-hmm.
We had one where we got a wheelbarrow and we threw whatever landscape material you could do in it. We did deadlifts, we did farmer's carries. This was very much a down-home style, body weight, intensity type thing. And so I think that was probably the biggest, most effective thing that we did for people is we put them on it was about a 5-week course. And anybody, and we opened this up. This is normally programming that we charge for, but we opened it up for the whole gym at Bodyplex Hamilton Mill, where I do most of my work. We've got close to 3,000 members there, and we opened it up free of charge for everybody who just wanted to click on, watch a video, get a good laugh, and then get a well-designed program to be able to stay moving
Yeah.
during the time they were at home.
Yeah, you should have seen me. I was shoveling a patio, so I had a wheelbarrow. You should have videotaped me in the backyard. I shoveled out a 17 by 12 foot square to fill with concrete and all that stuff. And so like literally for 4 hours, I was doing deadlifts and farmers carries like down a hill and making sure like none of the dirt just like goes all over the grass and stuff. It was just an absolute mess. You should. But yeah, it was. I mean, you definitely should have came over and videotaped me doing that. So, but so awesome. So with everyone, with Georgia and Florida and like Tennessee, they're starting to bring people back into the gyms. I know the gym that I'm at, they're opening in the 13th, and so when you guys are slowly like opening up, do you think it's a good idea for people to, like max out like all their lifts in the beginning, or just go, or pretty much just like see what they can get by feel, or just try to get to where their numbers were before before like the whole COVID-19 thing?
Yeah, well, if they've had a home gym and they've been progressing through their periodization and without it, then why not walk into the gym? If the day's plan was to get after it, then why not? But most people are probably not like that. Most people are probably not like me, where they've got a full power rack behind them and bumpers and plates and been going at it. I've spent probably 20 years building my home gym. Most people are not in that situation. So, of course not. I think your relatively recent training has to dictate what that first block of time in the gym looks like. Don't really care where you are at any more than 4 or 5 or 6 weeks ago. That does not matter. It's irrelevant. Your recent history dictates what you need to be doing when you return to the gym. So if you've been doing body weight stuff, then we probably need to run through a cycle where we're hitting 50, 60, and 70% of any kind of max on any kind of lift. And you're just building a movement base. You're getting reacclimated to a different environment, a different situation, a different barbell. It feels different in your hands. You're breathing different air. You're in a different space. All of that it all kind of goes into the human mechanism and your experience, and it'll throw you off. So you just got to get reacclimated to it. And so I think most people are probably somewhere in that realm there, rather than walking in ready to go crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really do think, like you said, they should start at like 50 to 70% of their 1 rep max to even like just get the feel going with it. So, what are I'm really big into like getting stronger. So what are great accessory works that you like to do with your clients to get them stronger, from like, squatting wise, or like benching, or, anything pretty much for your shoulders?
Yeah, you always got to establish where somebody is at. You need to do some movement assessments. I need to know, where are the limitations? Are the limitations structural? Are there flexibility and mobility limitations to where that client is at? Have they ever loaded significantly in the past? Where is their nervous system at? Do they even know what a heavy load feels like and how to control their body under a heavy load? There's a lot of things that we evaluate on where somebody is at before we ever get them loaded and get them moving with any kinds of intensity, whether that's under intensity of an energy demand, breathing under a heavy load, lots of things that so you got to start with an assessment. You got to have a qualified person give you that kind of a feedback and tell you where you're at and help you to understand where you're at in the process. Then you can start to diagnose what do you need to be doing. What are the movements that you need to be able to create more of a balanced movement. So that's kind kind of how we go about it. We want to make sure that we are creating strength first by making it a whole, healthy, human moving joint without restrictions and without flow. And you can make significant strength gains just by improving weaknesses in the joint.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have a healthy moving joint and we don't have any restrictions for movement, now we can start working on strength. But range of motion is a really customized, personal kind of thing. I guarantee my knees don't move through as good of a range of motion as what they did when I was 25.
Same here.
So,
Same here.
yeah, so you have to know yourself. You got to know your body, and if you're the trainer, you got to know your client. What is possible, and then you can start to go on there. But initially it's exploratory. Secondarily, it is restoring balance and what is pain-free movement and movement quality. Now we can start loading.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a process that can take months to do. It's a process that can take days or weeks to do. It really varies from person to person.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've actually had clients that I had like other trainers at other gyms, like teach them, and they actually get injured from them doing workouts on their lower back. They have back issues, and they're having to do like twists with the cables and all that stuff. And it's like, no, you can't do that. That's the reason why they're getting hurt. They need to do other ways to get their back stronger, or other workouts that don't really involve twisting movements to that degree, because that's how they hurt their back in the first place. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So awesome. So, where can people find you or have any questions? Actually, before that, if you have a new trainer that came in that was looking for advice, what would you tell them? What to expect as a beginning trainer, and how to learn to get better.
Well, you gotta, I think you need to find somebody that you respect, and one of the best things you can do is figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're interested in but you also need to figure out what you're not good at. I think one mistake that new trainers fall into, and I did as well, I thought, hey, I've got a certification, I can do anything. I can build muscle, I can make you stronger, I can make you faster, I can make you lose weight, I can do it all, And that's not true most of the time. You need to find one thing that you're really, really good at. I think you're much better off as a trainer having a vertical knowledge base rather than something that's broad and horizontal that's lacking depth.
Mm-hmm.
Learn one thing really, really good, maybe even better than anybody else. Learn how to do that one thing really good, and then go out and find people who need that one thing. And you will be much better off being an expert at one thing rather than a jack of all trades of many things that you just can't really focus on. So focus on one thing and be really good at it. Go find somebody who is in that arena and go study and go learn. And I think that is by far a better way to go about it, rather than just getting some kind of a certification and thinking that you can solve all problems. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to happen, and you're probably going to do more damage than good for those trainers who are out there fighting a good fight, because people get a bad taste by failed experiences with trainers who overcommit and can't really deliver.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Learn a process, learn yourself, learn what you're good at, learn what you're not good at, and study under somebody. This is a lifelong pursuit. This is not something I do part-time. This is what I live, eat, breathe every single day, and I have for many years now.
Awesome. So do you have any good resources that you like to look at or listen to or read or watch that may help out a beginner trainer at all?
You need that kind of constant influx of information.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's one of my personal goals is to read or study something every single day for personal development. And it generally is something that also makes me grow as a professional as well. I'm a big fan of, first let me say, I learn better by listening and not so much by reading.
Yeah.
Seems to work with my lifestyle, seems to work with my learning style. So I'll listen to videos when I'm eating, when I'm food prepping, sometimes even when I'm working out. It's kind of a weird thing. But listening to a podcast when I work out, depending on the type of workout and the intent and the purpose behind the workout. Can't do that when I'm doing a metabolic conditioning workout.
No.
Gotta have music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes when it's a lower stress kind of thing, then I can get away with it. But certainly when I'm driving, listening to Active Life and Sean Pastuch, I love their stuff and I love their message. I like Stand Efforting and Vertical Podcast. Anybody like that comes from a strength perspective, from a mindset perspective, I'm a big fan of. Maybe for the entertainment value, the Mind Muscle Project guys.
Yep, I like those guys. Those guys are really good.
Holy cow! Yeah, they are out there and laugh out loud when I'm by myself. Sometimes listen to those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, they went. It's interesting that podcast. That's like one of the first podcasts I listened to for like fitness. They went from like strictly like all CrossFit to now like kind of like not poo-pooing CrossFit, but just like on like doing other things other than like CrossFit, just to try to make their life better, for fitness wise and for their clients as well. So yeah, that's a really good one that I really like.
Yeah, some of the, and I enjoy Ben Bertrand a lot. I like to listen to books on tape, audiobooks. One that I'm listening to now is by Chris Voss. Chris Voss is a former lead negotiator for terrorist situations. And just his message is essentially everything we do is a negotiation. And in life, for you to be a good negotiator of life. And it's, boy, what tremendous life lessons. So, big fan of Chris Voss. Right now, I'm making my way through his audiobook.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, last question. So, where can people reach out to you if they have any questions about like anything with fitness, or pretty much like have a question about like managing a gym or whatnot?
Yeah, sure. They can get me on Facebook and Instagram at Bradley Fitness 1. That's Bradley, BRADLEY, Fitness number 1. BradleyFit.com is my website. And most of the time during the day, I'm running a training department and various training programs over at Bodyplex in Hamilton Mill, up in beautiful Beulah, Georgia.
Yeah, awesome. So, I mean, guys, I wish you were able to see behind him. His home gym is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, this is goals that I want. So, like, I mean, I have some things. I don't have a power rack. I have like 2 squat racks made out of Home Depot's like supplies and like a bucket of cement. So, but it works. So, but yeah. So I mean, it took him a long time to get where all of his equipment is right now, and especially like if you're trying to get a home gym, it's just slowly incorporate certain things and like I would ask you, get the things that you really, really need compared to like the accessory stuff, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I started my home gym with a flat bench and a pull-up bar and dumbbells that were kind of in my sweet spot. They weren't too light and they weren't too heavy, and learn how to modify for intensity based off of tempo and rest periods and volume, sets and reps. You learn how to make progress with that first. And so, yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot.
No.
And then you pick stuff up. And I did a lot of work on trade. Find somebody who's got what you want. Figure out what they want in exchange for it. I did a lot of landscaping landscape jobs and a lot of trade out to be able to get what I need, and you just slowly build. And it's the same kind of thing. Whenever you have something that you eat, sleep, live, you find a way to be able to make that part of your life. So yeah, what you see behind me in my gym, it just represents my life for the last 35 years.
Awesome. Well, Brad, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I truly do appreciate it. And, you're an absolute wealth of knowledge. And like I said before, I always would throw stuff at you and see what your, advice would be. And I really do appreciate for everything you've done for me as a personal trainer.
Well, I super appreciate it. Thoroughly enjoyed the time that we had together in the gym. Absolutely been watching what you do. I think what you're doing is a tremendous service to the Type 1 community and just for lifters. And I hope in some way I was able to benefit your people and all you guys out there for Type 1. I hope I was able to encourage you, inspire you in some way. Just keep on doing what you're doing. It's beautiful. It's awesome. And, I'm a big Thomas Lennon fan.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All right. Well, have a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
See you, buddy.
Bye.